It is finally Thor Love and Thunder week, but before we witness the glorious return of the God of Thunder to the MCU, it's time to look upon his previous adventures one last time. This is my review of Thor Ragnarok. Thor finds himself imprisoned on the planet Saakar, where he must race against time to get back home and stop Ragnarok, the destruction of Asgard at the hands of a new, ruthless, and powerful villain, Hela, his sister, the goddess of death. Before I start today with my review of Thor Ragnarok, I want you to start a conversation about it in the comments below and let me know your thoughts on Taika Waititi's first MCU-directed film, and I've been reviewing every single Thor film in anticipation of Thor Love and Thunder, and my first reviews for the first two Thor films are right up here in case you want to check that out, and pretty soon I'll be reviewing Thor Love and Thunder as well. So if you love the Thor movies, if you love movies and TV, this is the place to be, so consider clicking that subscribe button down there and you won't miss any future conversation on your favorite movies and TV. I have always had a complicated relationship with Thor Ragnarok. I wasn't the biggest fan of Taika Waititi as a director originally coming into this film as it was coming out back in 2017, but I am a big fan of the original Thor film. I've been a big fan of the Ragnarok story by Walter Simonson from the comics, and over the years I have gone up and down on Thor Ragnarok. One of the things that is undeniably great about this film is how much fun Taika Waititi injects into it. His unique, vibrant, colorful, distinct visual style is all over this film. He's able to give grand spectacle, but also deliver some intimate moments, as brief as they are. Whether they're effective or not, we'll get to that later, but he's clearly a director that is able to deliver some moments like that, and he brings out all the fantastical Kirby-esque essence from the comics to life with extremely exciting, unique vistas and environments that just breed fantasy filmmaking come to life. He clearly was very inspired by Flash Gordon back in the day, and this feels very much like what Flash Gordon would be these days, and it's a much better version of what that film could have ever been. He leans into the fantasy aspects of Thor, fully exploring the Asgardian mythos in a fun, exciting, lavish way that only he could do it, unabashedly and unashamedly giving us a fantasy extravaganza. He also has a distinct synth score spread throughout this film that is fabulous to listen to. Just fits in right organically into this film with all the environments that we're witnessing, all these weird planets with all these kooky characters and outlandish moments. So there's no denying that Waititi fully celebrates the fantasy genre in all its wackiness. Energized from minute one, this film just goes. I love seeing Muspelheim come to life. I love seeing Saakar with all its Kirbiness glory, all the little Easter eggs there when you see the tower and you see Bi-Beast and Ares and Beta Ray Bill celebrating a little bit of Planet Hulk with that side of the story. I love just seeing Hulk going around and smashing, even if it is his friend. Even the sequences that we have with Heimdall as he tries to help the people of Asgard hide away from Hela, the visuals on that side of the story just feel like straight out of a Lord of the Rings, and just makes me want to see Idris Elba in Lord of the Rings in general. I will tell you right now that this is not my favorite Thor film, but this has by far the best action sequences in all the Thor movies. Whether you are talking about when Hela first gets into Asgard, Thor versus the Incredible Hulk in the arena, the final Bifrost battle sequences, all these action sequences are distinct and memorable and have style and feel grand. That's what Taika Waititi brings to this film. It's also very exciting that, once again, as he leans into all the fantasy aspects and just never lets you be bored for a second, this is the Thor film where we spend the least amount of time on Earth. But even in the quick moments that we are on Earth, Waititi is able to deliver some very exciting moments as we cross the streams, blend in more elements of the MCU as we bring in Doctor Strange, and he actually plays a really nice part in the plot and how the story moves along. And we have a serene, calm moment as before Odin perishes and becomes cosmic dust, he once more, as his last deed in this realm, brings Loki and Thor back together. Taika Waititi did not make the best Thor film, but there are flashes of brilliance in there as he clearly has distinct, concrete, and set ideas in what he wants to tackle with his film. Conceptually, Taika is clearly trying to tackle compelling themes and interesting character conflicts that discuss colonialism and purpose. That is all in his direction. Sadly, Taika Waititi did not write this script for this film. So every time you have a brilliant joke or a brilliant moment, it comes from either improv that this film had a lot of, or from his direction. Despite him having some interesting ideas regarding the story, the plot of this film has some really nice moving pieces to it. It feels complex, it feels like everything bleeds into the other, but the characterizations throughout this film feel a little bit muddled, feel lost in the service of, instead of fully tackling these themes in service of giving the characters interesting arcs, we end up undercutting all the compelling dilemmas and the character conflicts to deliver a gag or a joke that in isolation they might work. This is Taika Waititi's very distinct kind of humor that I've come to love. But in this film, it doesn't feel like they're balanced too well. I will say that this film clearly gathers the most exciting ensemble of characters in any of the Thor films. We have Thor and Loki, who whenever they are on screen, bounce off each other beautifully. It feels like there's nuance and complexity in their emotions, in this very damaged relationship throughout the years, where Chris Hemsworth and Tom Hiddleston just become these characters so naturally. They disappear into these roles whenever they are on screen. Hemsworth is really charming as Thor. I really love this character in the first act and the third, where he fully realizes who he is and kicks all the ass and finally becomes the leader that Asgard needs. However, I really don't like the characterization of Thor when it comes to the humor of this film. The jokes themselves work. Again, they are Waititi's distinct kind of humor. But Thor in this film suffers from what I like to call as Goku's super disease. For those who don't know, Dragon Ball is one of my favorite animes of all time. And from the original Dragon Ball to Dragon Ball Z, Goku is a character that it can be very serious at the right moments, but he's very jovial and nice, and can even feel a little bit naive at points with how oblivious he is. I feel like that very much also describes Thor in the first two Thor movies and in the MCU in general if we include the Avengers movies. In this film, however, Thor kind of became what Goku became in Dragon Ball Super, where he just becomes too stupid in the service of delivering humor. And I never enjoyed this characterization of Thor, where he's trying to be tough and macho, like when he's trying to lean against the wall and he just feels uncomfortable, when he throws the ball to the mirror and just hits him in the head and he falls down and he's trying to be, oh, because that's what heroes do. Even the opening sequence with Surtur, it doesn't feel like Thor humor. Thor would take this threat upon his home of Asgard very seriously. There is a time for Thor to deliver jokes. There is a time for Thor to deliver serious moments and be the tough hero that he's always been. And I feel like this movie just doesn't know when to distinguish the two sides of this character. With Thor, the film is just indecisive whether to treat him as this broken character who's trying to find purpose after being defeated by his own sister, who breaks his hammer and everything he knew gets destroyed, or be this teacher and mentor that's trying to bring Banner back to his glory days, bringing Valkyrie back into being the heroine she's supposed to be, bringing Loki back to the good side, which is one of the things he's always tried to do. But there's these two character arcs that are conflicting throughout the film, and so neither of them end up truly paying off as well as they should. So even though Hemsworth's natural charisma is able to deliver these jokes as intended, the character just doesn't feel right for this kind of humor. Not all of it is awful, not all of it destroys quote-unquote the character. The friend from work is very much an essence of this character. Every banter that he has with Hulk and with Banner really works, and whenever he's on screen with Loki, the humor is just right and it carries this nuance of seriousness and of dramatic weight, carrying all the history of these two brothers. I do really love how the film treats Hulk in general. Hulk is a badass. Hulk is a petulant child. He wants to be left alone. He's also very damaged from how he suffered on Earth, how he was used as an object, how people don't really like them, and he's afraid to go back. There's some really nice character writing in Hulk. When it comes to Banner, he's fine. He's alright. I think the film undercuts a lot of moments with this character specifically in the third act when he's trying to become the Hulk again, making this powerful character choice where he knows he might not ever come back and he throws himself out of the ship, but then he just falls flat on the bridge before becoming the Hulk anyway. It just feels like the film undercuts these powerful character moments with choices they make to just deliver a joke. And that's my biggest issue with this film. The whole thing, because it was not written by Taika Waititi, feels unbalanced in the drama and the humor it tries to deliver throughout. It results in the film never fully committing to these interesting ideas and the themes it is supposedly tackling, where they should be epic, triumphant character moments, but instead feel like cool action beats. And this film has cool action. It has the best action in any of these films, but it rings hollow. Emotionally, it doesn't carry as much weight as it should. But the relationship between Thor and Hulk/Banner just ends up working very naturally. The two just are so familiar with these roles and with one another and with what the relationship entails. Their banter is just so organic and it flows naturally. Whether you're talking about the fight in the arena with Hulk just trying to stay away from everything in his previous life, to Banner who gets confronted with that video message from Nat and falls back into being Banner and now just feels completely lost, much like the Hulk felt back on Earth. It's a really nice symmetry that I like how this film treats these two in general and the dichotomy between the two personalities in one body. And given my issues in how the character writing is handled regarding previously established characters, you might be surprised when you hear that I feel like the new characters that Waititi introduces in this film are the ones that work the best. Jeff Goldblum as the Grandmaster is inspired casting. This feels like the Grandmaster taken straight out of the comics, and it's a character only Jeff Goldblum could play. He brings the right amount of campiness, but also the right amount of threat. Just the lines he delivers in his Jeff Goldblum way have the necessary amount of threat. Tessa Thompson as Valkyrie is fantastic. She carries this tragedy on her shoulders that she's trying to run away from, very much mirroring the Hulk. The film, I don't think, takes full advantage of those parallels, but they are there, and in regards to the Valkyrie character on her own, they're nicely explored, with her trying to run away from Thor, being confronted by Loki of all people, and end up deciding through that confrontation going back to Asgard to help Thor get rid of Hela. And Hela herself, one of my favorite MCU villains, in great part due to Cate Blanchett's deliciously evil performance. Hela just has a personality about her. She is fun to watch. She loves being evil. She has fun being evil. She loves killing. And there's a nice broken mirror image where Hela is fully formed the worst version of Thor, the version of Thor that Odin did not want him to become back in the first film. So there's a nice overarching story that we now see what Odin was so afraid of, that results really well as a callback to that film, bringing things full circle. And we're allowed to see her being ruthless. We're allowed to see her being evil. We're allowed to see her being in control, whether she just gets to Asgard and kills the Warriors 3, even though Thor never reacts to it. I don't think he even ever finds out. She kills an entire army of Asgardians. She knows all the little secrets that not even the Asgardians knew, and she even persuades Scourge into her side. Scourge is a character that is awesomely played by Karl Urban, but he's missing an arc. He gets from point A and then suddenly he's in point B, but there's no journey in between that. I wish there were some moments. I wish there were something, some relationship that he had to Thor, to Loki, to Odin, about how ruthless Odin was, and Scourge knew it. And now he saw himself kind of becoming the exact same as the previous version of Odin, as Hela is now, and he made that decision. He chose to help Asgard instead. That is not there, again, because the film is so worried about undercutting these epic, triumphant journeys of the characters into nice, fun action beats. And the action beats are cool. And the action beats are fun, but they just lack any emotional weight, sadly, for me. The arcs overall feel undercooked, like the writers are unsure of the intentions of the story regarding character. They have these compelling starting points, these interesting character dynamics, but it ends up just running around in circles trying to find that purpose, trying to find the end point for those compelling setups. It is one of the most visually interesting and distinct movies as a whole, and particularly that third act on top of the Bifrost Bridge. Again, a nice full circle moment back to the first film, where Thor had to make a choice to destroy the bridge, and now he has to make the choice to destroy Asgard, because the palace, the beautiful cities, doesn't matter as long as he saves the people. He unleashes Surtur with the help of Valkyrie, of Hulk, of Loki, which is the most interesting, compelling relationship throughout this film. And even with the destruction of Asgard, even in the moments where Thor, the writing for his character, is clearly letting this moment sink in, we have a joke from Korg, played by Taika Waititi. Feels poetic that it ends up being that kind of improv comedy that takes away from the weight of what was just lost. It's a nice lesson that Thor learns by the end of the film, but it gets undercut by this jokey line where if you just put yourself in his shoes, you'd look at your friend like, what the fuck, dude, I just lost my entire planet. Yes, he has his people, but his home that he loved so much that for the longest time he wanted to rule over, be king of, where his mother and father lived, where he grew up with his brother. Now it's all gone, and we're not allowed to feel that emotion. Thor Ragnarok feels like a Saturday morning cartoon come to life, gathering the best ensemble of characters for a space fantasy adventure with vibrancy, color, and the funnest, most exciting action set pieces in any of the Thor films. However, it struggles to fully tackle any genuine themes and emotion, prioritizing jokes and gags instead that take away from what would be compelling character journeys. I'm giving Thor Ragnarok a B. But those are only my thoughts on Thor Ragnarok, and that ends our journey to Love and Thunder. Make sure to watch all the Thor reviews I've done for this video. You can find those right up here along with my other MCU reviews, and I'll be back very soon with my review for Thor Love and Thunder. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you to my channel members for always supporting the channel, and until the next one, love each other and love the movies.